If you're joining us today, you are exactly the kind of listener we love.
Oh, absolutely.
You're someone who values your time, you're naturally curious, and you're always looking for that next crucial business insight to stay ahead of the curve.
Yeah, the people who want to look under the hood of how things actually work.
Right. And today we are framing this entire conversation around a massive operational decision that, honestly, every single growing business faces sooner or later.
Without a doubt.
We're talking about securing your physical space in a rapidly changing technological landscape.
It really is a critical pivot point for any business. I mean, the physical security of a storefront or an office
Yeah.
used to be an afterthought, right?
Just a heavy piece of brass on a door.
Exactly. Just a chunk of brass and maybe a do not duplicate stamp on a metal key if you were feeling fancy.
Right, right.
But today, looking at the sources we're diving into, which include these deep dive industry reports, training manuals for master locksmiths, and detailed analyses of the latest smart tech, it just shows a completely different reality.
It's totally shifted.
Yeah, the line between physical security and operational efficiency has completely blurred.
And that brings us to our mission for today's deep dive. We want to provide you with a professional, solution-driven breakdown of access control versus traditional locks.
Because it's not a one-size-fits-all thing.
No, not at all. We want to help you figure out exactly what is best for your specific business needs, your scaling goals, and your unique risk levels.
Making the wrong choice here doesn't just cost you money. It costs you peace of mind.
Completely. And speaking of peace of mind, getting this right often requires bringing in the pros. So this deep dive is sponsored by West Point Locksmith. You can reach them by phone at 310-295-4040.
A great local resource.
Absolutely. They are fast, reliable, and professional locksmiths serving all of Los Angeles. From emergency lockouts to rekeying, smart locks, and even car key replacements, they're available 24/7 to keep your home, business, and vehicle secure.
And having a reliable 24/7 local contact like that is actually incredibly relevant to where we're heading today.
Oh, for sure.
Especially when we start talking about the very real emergencies that pop up when physical hardware fails or when human error happens.
Exactly. So here's a quick overview of our journey today. First, we're going to look at the fascinating decades-old mechanics of traditional locks and the hidden paradox of the master key.
Which is a mind bender if you've never thought about it.
It really is. Then we'll shift into the high-tech world of digital access control. After that, we are going to crunch the real-world budget numbers for business owners, specifically focusing on the Los Angeles market.
Got to look at the bottom line.
Always. And finally, we will explore the ultimate best of both worlds solution, which are hybrid systems. Okay, let's unpack this. When we talk about traditional commercial locks, we're largely talking about the classic pin tumbler design.
The industry standard for, well, forever.
Right. I know we all use keys every single day, but how exactly does this tiny piece of jagged metal actually keep a heavy door shut?
It really is a marvel of simple engineering. You have to think of the inside of a standard lock like a microscopic game of Tetris.
Okay, Tetris, I like that.
Yeah. So you have a cylinder called the plug, which is the part that actually turns to unlock the door.
Okay.
But inside that plug, blocking it from turning, are tiny vertical stacks of metal pins. You've got bottom pins and top pins.
So they're physically jamming the cylinder from rotating.
Exactly. Now, when you slide the correct key into the lock, the specific jagged ridges on your key act like a custom staircase.
Ah, okay.
They lift those little pins to the exact perfect height, aligning the break between the top and bottom pins with the edge of the plug.
And that alignment has a specific name, right?
Yeah, it's called the shear line. Once that shear line is clear, boom, the cylinder turns and the deadbolt slides back.
It's a brilliant, reliable physical mechanic.
Very elegant.
But from what I read in the sources, when a business starts to scale up, that simple engineering suddenly hits a massive logistical wall.
A huge wall.
I mean, imagine a corporate building with 50 different doors. You can't seriously expect the facility manager to walk around carrying a janitor's key ring with 50 different keys jingling on their belt.
It's entirely impractical. It's an absolute nightmare.
Yeah.
And that logistical headache is exactly what led to the traditional scalability solution, which is the master key system.
Right, where you have a hierarchy of keys.
Precisely. In a master key setup, a regular employee gets a key that only opens the front door and their specific office.
Makes sense.
But the manager gets a master key that opens every single door in the building. On paper, it sounds like the absolute perfect operational solution.
It does. But the sources highlight a pretty massive catch here. And it's a trade-off that a lot of business owners simply do not realize they're making when they order these systems.
They really don't. What's fascinating here is the hidden mechanical cost of that convenience.
Because the lock has to somehow accept two different keys now.
Right. To make a lock accept more than one uniquely cut key, meaning the employee's key and the manager's master key locksmiths, have to physically modify that microscopic game of Tetris inside the cylinder.
How do they do that?
They have to add what are called master pins.
Okay.
These are extra tiny flat metal discs placed right between the bottom pin and the top pin.
So by adding another piece of metal into the stack, you're creating an extra break in the pins.
Yes.
Which means there is now a secondary shear line.
Precisely. Instead of just one perfect mathematical combination of pin heights that allows that cylinder to turn, there are now multiple combinations. And this inherently reduces the lock's security. By adding extra shear lines to accommodate the master key, you're inadvertently making the lock significantly easier for a bad actor to manipulate.
Manipulate how, exactly? Are we talking about picking the lock with those little tension wrenches you see in spy movies?
Lock picking is one way, yes, and master pins do make picking much easier.
Because there are more targets to hit, basically.
Exactly. More shear lines mean more chances to get it right. But the lock picking sources we reviewed specifically note an even more common vulnerability called bumping.
Bumping. Yeah, I've heard of a bump key, but I always pictured someone literally hitting the door with a hammer or something.
That's a common misconception.
What actually is a bump key?
It's a specially cut key that a bad actor slides into the lock. They apply a little bit of turning pressure, and then they physically tap or bump the back of the key with a tool.
Just a little tap.
Just a tap. That kinetic energy travels through the key and causes the top pins inside the lock to momentarily bounce upward, just for a fraction of a second.
Like those desktop physics toys with the swinging metal balls.
Yes, exactly like Newton's cradle. If they turn the key at that exact millisecond, those pins are bouncing up, the lock opens.
That's terrifying.
It requires very little skill. And because master keyed locks have so many extra shear lines, the chances of a bump key successfully bouncing the pins to any working combination are astronomically higher.
So it's a direct trade-off.
It is. You gain operational convenience for your manager, but you sacrifice a measurable degree of your building's physical security.
That is wild. It's a direct mechanical vulnerability. But reading through the operational reports in our stack, the security vulnerability isn't even just about someone bumping the lock in the middle of the night.
No, the biggest issue is far more mundane.
Right. There is an even bigger, much more common everyday headache, the lost key.
Yes. The human element is always the weakest link.
Always.
If an intern loses a standard office key, it's an annoyance. You replace it. But if a manager loses a master key, that is an absolute crisis. Suddenly, the physical security of your entire facility is compromised. You don't know if it fell into a storm drain or if a disgruntled former employee walked off with it intentionally to come back later.
The sheer sweaty panic of realizing that little piece of brass is gone.
It's the worst feeling.
And the financial reality of fixing that mistake is brutal. You can't just ignore it and hope for the best. What kind of numbers are we looking at when a business has to recover from a lost master key?
The data in our industry reports shows it's a heavy hit. To restore true security, you have to pay a locksmith to come out and rekey every affected lock.
Which is basically taking the lock apart and putting new pins in.
Correct. In a commercial setting that typically runs between $70 and $160 per lock for the labor and new keys.
Per lock. Wow.
Per lock. Or, if the hardware is older, you might have to replace the cylinders entirely, which jumps to $50 to $200 per lock.
So if you have a moderately sized, say, 20-door facility, losing one master key could literally cost you thousands of dollars overnight.
Overnight. Not to mention the massive operational disruption of having a locksmith taking apart every door in your building while your employees are trying to work.
It is a massive liability. And it is exactly this pain point, the limits of mechanical scaling and the high cost of human error, that's driving the entire security industry toward the next major phase of our discussion.
The traditional mechanical lock has really reached its practical limits for growing businesses.
Which brings us to the digital shift, the digital age of access control.
A total paradigm shift.
And this isn't just a tech fad. According to the ABSUS World Industry Analysis in our stack, An overwhelming 81% of locksmiths report that electronic access control is fundamentally changing their product portfolios.
It's no longer a niche market for high-security government buildings. It's becoming the new standard for everyday businesses.
But access control is a pretty broad term. What are the actual alternatives to the metal key?
It encompasses a surprisingly wide variety of technologies. It's essentially an entire ecosystem of digital entry methods designed to verify identity before granting access.
Let's run through the options out there. The most basic one seems to be keypads.
Right, the classic pin pad.
Simple, highly effective, and they require no physical token at all. You just type in a 4 or 6-digit code. But the obvious downside there is that a PIN code can easily be texted or verbally passed along to someone who definitely shouldn't have it.
Exactly. Hey, what's the code to the supply closet again?
Yeah.
And suddenly, 3 unauthorized people know it.
Right. Then you step up to RFID systems. These are the classic tap-and-go cards or those little plastic fobs you see clipped to lanyards in most modern office buildings.
Yeah, RFID replaces the physical keyring with a digital token. But beyond that, we are seeing a massive mainstream surge in biometrics.
Like fingerprint scanners or facial recognition.
Exactly, using your physical self to unlock a door. The sources highlight that biometrics are the gold standard for security because they tie the access directly to the physical person.
Right, you cannot accidentally leave your fingerprint in an Uber.
No, you can't. And you can't lend your face to a coworker.
That actually solves a huge hidden HR problem in commercial settings, doesn't it? The whole buddy punching issue.
Oh, absolutely. Buddy punching is when one employee swipes another employee's RFID card to clock them in for a shift, or to give them access to a restricted area when they aren't actually on site.
Which happens all the time.
All the time. Biometrics completely eliminate that kind of time theft and unauthorized access.
Then you have the smart Wi-Fi and Bluetooth locks. I love these because they integrate right into the devices we already carry everywhere.
Our phones.
Yeah. We read about locks supporting things like Apple Home Key, where you literally just tap your Apple Watch or iPhone to the doorframe and it opens.
Super convenient.
But I also saw some really brilliant innovations for standard keypads. There's this feature on certain Lockly models called the Pin Genie.
Oh, the rotating numbers.
Yes. The digital numbers on the touchscreen constantly rotate and change their physical positions every time you use it.
That is a brilliant piece of security design because it solves a very specific physical vulnerability, which is the smudge problem.
Right. Because on a standard static keypad, over time, the natural oils and dirt from your fingers will leave permanent smudges or wear patterns on the specific numbers you use for your code.
Anyone can see it.
Exactly. A thief can just shine a flashlight on the glass, look at the 4 smudge numbers, and easily guess your code.
It narrows the combinations down significantly.
But if the numbers randomly change their location on the screen every time the lock wakes up, your fingerprints are distributed evenly across the entire glass surface.
It's such a simple, elegant software solution to a hardware problem.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. Let's go back to that sweaty panic scenario, the lost master key nightmare.
The worst case scenario.
Let's say you upgrade to an RFID fob system, and an employee loses their fob on the subway. Or a manager is terminated under bad terms. In the mechanical world, you are making an emergency call to a locksmith and dropping $2,000 to rekey the building. What happens in the digital world?
There is no emergency call. None. And there is no panic. A system administrator simply logs into a secure, cloud-based dashboard from their laptop or phone, finds that specific employee's profile, and clicks delete.
Just one click.
Instantly, that lost fob becomes a completely useless piece of plastic. The building is secure, absolutely $0 were spent on new hardware, and there was zero operational downtime. The flexibility is unparalleled.
But hold on, let me push back on that for a second. If a system administrator can just log into a cloud dashboard and control the doors, doesn't that introduce a massive digital hacking risk?
That's the immediate question everyone asks.
Right, because what if someone steals the administrator's password? Aren't we just trading a physical burglar with a bump key for a digital hacker?
That is a very valid concern, and it's why enterprise-grade access control systems use end-to-end encryption, mandatory two-factor authentication for administrators, and continuous firmware updates.
So it's heavily protected.
Very. Yes, it introduces a cybersecurity element, which we will touch on later. But the statistical likelihood of a local business being targeted by a sophisticated cloud hacker is generally much lower than an ex-employee coming back with a key they forgot to return.
That makes sense. The physical threat is usually more immediate.
Exactly. Furthermore, you can grant incredibly granular temporary access with these systems. Say you have a plumber coming to fix a leak on a Saturday.
Right.
You don't have to drive down to the office on your day off to let them in. You generate a one-time, time-limited passcode on your phone, text it to the plumber, and once they use it, or once the 2-hour window expires, the code deletes itself.
That level of control is incredible.
It is. But if we connect this to the bigger picture, the most profound advantage of access control isn't just how you open the door. It is the data you generate when you do.
The audit trail.
Yes. Access control offers unprecedented visibility through digital audit trails. Every single time a door is open, or even when an unauthorized fob attempts to open a door, the system logs it.
Wow.
You know exactly who opened what door and exactly when.
That completely changes the game for internal HR and operations.
Totally.
If a laptop goes missing from a supply closet at 2 a.m. on a Sunday, you don't have to play detective and interview everyone. The audit log tells you immediately whose fob or fingerprint was used to open that specific door at that specific time.
It removes the guesswork.
It fundamentally changes how a business manages internal accountability. You can actually settle disputes with hard data.
Exactly. However, all of this digital wizardry and data tracking brings us to a very practical reality check.
The budget.
Always the budget. For all its operational benefits, upgrading to access control is a significant financial investment.
Let's talk about the wallet impact. Budget considerations, especially for businesses operating in higher cost areas like Los Angeles. What does this actually do to a local business's budget? Because outfitting an entire building with biometric scanners sounds incredibly expensive.
It certainly is a heavier lift up front. Let's look at the numbers. Installing a basic electronic lock system typically runs between $100 and $500 per lock for the hardware and installation.
Okay, that's not terrible.
But if you're going for advanced biometric systems, the hardware itself costs $150 to $500 per door. And that doesn't even include the overarching network infrastructure, the software subscription fees for the cloud dashboard, or the IT integration costs.
That adds up fast.
It does. Contrast that with traditional hardware. You can have a standard, highly reliable cylindrical deadbolt installed for maybe $40 to $75 in labor, plus the cost of a relatively inexpensive lock. So on day one, the mechanical lock wins the budget war by a mile.
Right. But running a business isn't a day one calculation. You have to look at the long game.
Precisely. We have to look at the return on investment, or ROI, over time. Think about a business with a naturally high employee turnover rate, maybe a retail chain, a fast-paced restaurant, or a growing tech startup.
Where people are coming and going all the time.
Right. Every time a key holding manager leaves under less than ideal circumstances, you have to repeat.
Because you can't risk it.
You can't. And it's not just the $150 average service call for the emergency locksmith. It's the fact that your morning shift manager might be standing outside in the parking lot for 2 hours on a Tuesday morning waiting for the lock to be changed.
Losing money every minute they aren't open.
Exactly. If you are doing that several times a year, the recurring maintenance costs and the lost productivity of a physical key system will rapidly outpace the higher initial investment of a digital system.
It's the classic pay more upfront to save money later scenario.
Very much so.
But I also noticed in the sources that it's all about choosing your level. If you're a local mom and pop shop, you don't necessarily need the retinal scanner that a Fortune 500 company uses for their server room, right?
Not at all. The beauty of the current market is its modularity. If you run a small retail shop, maybe a single Wi-Fi smart lock on your front door is the perfect, budget-friendly upgrade.
Keep it simple.
Yeah, you get the convenience of app-based locking, you get the audit trail for your morning opening shift, and you skip the massive server infrastructure entirely. It's about matching a technology to your specific threat model and your actual operational needs.
And there's always digital systems are not flawless.
No technology is.
They rely on modern infrastructure that physical keys just do not care about. They require constant power, they require fresh batteries, and they often require active internet connections.
Which brings us to a critical real-world vulnerability. What happens when the power goes out?
Yeah, and we aren't just talking about a blown fuse in the break room. The source material explicitly points to severe, prolonged scenarios.
Exactly. Look at the rolling blackouts during the California wildfires, or the massive multi-day grid failures we saw recently in Houston.
Right. If the power's out for 3 days and your front door relies entirely on a Wi-Fi connection and a motorized deadbolt, you have a serious problem. Are you just locked out of your own business? Or worse, does the lock fail in an open state because of fire codes, leaving your expensive inventory completely exposed to the street while the city is dark?
Both scenarios are disastrous. And this is exactly why the security industry strongly advocates for the hybrid solution. It truly is the best of both worlds.
How does that look?
Well, a purely electronic lock without a mechanical key override is considered a severe liability. The absolute ideal setup for a commercial space is a meticulously managed master key system combined with digital or biometric access.
So how does that work in practice? Do you literally have two different locks on the door?
Usually it's integrated into one single unit. You have the digital keypad or the RFID reader on the outside, but hidden underneath or beside it is a high-security physical keyhole.
Ah, okay, so it's a fallback.
Exactly. On a normal Tuesday, everyone uses their RFID fobs or their smartphone apps to get in. The audit trail is logging everything, HR is happy, and it's highly convenient.
Smooth sailing.
But if the city grid goes down, the backup batteries die, and the internet is completely out, the facility manager can still walk up to the door, slide a high-security brass key into the physical cylinder, and manually throw the deadbolt.
You retain the data tracking and convenience of the digital age, but you fall back on the centuries-old, undefeated reliability of mechanical engineering when disaster strikes.
Precisely. This raises an important question, though. How do you decide what your specific hybrid setup should look like? Because it is not a one-size-fits-all answer.
Right.
It requires tailoring the system to your specific industry. The risk profile of a 24-hour gym is vastly different from a high school.
Let's break that down. What did the sources say about schools and institutions?
Schools are rapidly upgrading to advanced centralized access control, not just for daily convenience, but for critical emergency features.
Right, the safety aspect.
They require systems with a quick lockdown capability. In the event of an active threat on campus, a single administrator can press one button on an app and instantly deadbolt every single exterior and interior door on a massive campus simultaneously.
That's incredible.
A traditional mechanical key system could never achieve that level of immediate life-saving speed.
That is a chilling but absolutely vital application of the technology. What about standard commercial offices, the mid-size corporate spaces?
Commercial offices benefit massively from cloud-based RFID or smartphone systems. For them, it's all about HR scalability.
Moving people around.
Exactly. When you have hundreds of employees coming, going, and moving departments, you need those audit trails. You need the ability to instantly onboard a new hire with a functioning digital badge and instantly revoke access for a terminated employee without calling a locksmith.
And for the small retail owner, the coffee shop or the local boutique?
They are often best served by standalone hybrid smart locks. Things like a Schlage Encode Plus or a Yale Assure. These offer the convenience of keypad entry or smartphone access for staff without needing a massive hardwired server infrastructure.
They're just easier to manage.
They run on standard AA batteries, they connect to standard Wi-Fi, and critically, they still have that physical keyhole for emergencies.
So what does this all mean? Let's distill all of this down to the ultimate advice for you, the listener, as you look at your own business. If you are running a small, single-location business with very low employee turnover, maybe it's just you and 2 trusted employees, and your primary concern is keeping initial capital costs down, a high-quality traditional mechanical lock system might still be your most cost-effective bet.
It works, it is proven, and the upfront cost is minimal.
But if you are scaling up, if you are managing multiple locations, if you handle highly sensitive inventory, or if your staff turnover is frequent, access control is no longer a luxury.
It's a strict operational necessity.
Right. The long-term savings on rekeying, combined with the security of instant access revocation and the operational power of audit trails, make it the only logical choice for a modern, growing enterprise.
Absolutely.
And whatever path you ultimately choose, whether you are installing top-tier mechanical deadbolts or outfitting your entire building with biometric smart locks, you need professionals to implement it correctly. A quick reminder that the experts at West Point Locksmith in LA are available 2147. Give them a call at 310-295-4040 to install, repair, or upgrade your system.
Before we wrap up, I want to leave you with one final provocative thought to mull over, straight from the underlying trends in our source material.
Let's hear it.
We have spent this whole time talking about securing your physical doors. But as our locks become entirely digital, connected to Wi-Fi and Bluetooth networks, the line between physical security and cybersecurity has completely vanished.
That is a wild thought. The front door is now a node on the IT network.
It is the new reality. If your front door is connected to your company's network, the person trying to break into your business in the middle of the night might not be a guy wearing a ski mask and holding a lockpick or a bump key.
Right.
It might be someone sitting in a parked car down the street, holding a laptop, actively looking for a vulnerability in your smart lock's firmware, or intercepting an unencrypted Bluetooth signal.
Wow.
It begs the question, are you treating your business's physical locks with the exact same strict digital security protocols, password protections, and firmware updates as your company computers?
Because in today's landscape, they are exactly the same thing.
Exactly the same.
That is definitely something to think about the next time you tap your phone to open your office door. Make sure you update that firmware. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We will catch you next time with more insights to keep you informed, secure, and always learning.